So this is the agenda that we have. I prepared three topics. First one is about payments in Philippines. Second one is our some use cases, meaning systems that we have implemented so far. And then who we are. Do that at the last slides. And where are we heading? This is the, just for your information, in banking, in financial. By the way, I'll be talking much more on payments and payment-related topics. So in payments, when you're doing, for example, you're using your credit card or your debit card to pay, for example, from a supermarket, department stores, retails, there is what we call EMV. EMV stands for Europay, MasterCard, Visa. So they created, these three companies created a global security standards for the acceptance of payments, specifically for credit card and debit card transactions. So the EMV is governed by the schemes. MasterCard and Visa and other scheme cards followed. For example, in the case of Amex, China UnionPay or UPI, okay? And now in Philippines, EMV is now mandated as well. But not for the card transactions, because they're already governed by the schemes. So EMV for Philippines is more on prepaid cards and for debit cards. In the past, when you receive, for example, your ATM cards from the banks, normally you will only see the mag stripe at the back of the card. For those who have already implemented the debit EMV, you will see the chip card like your credit card. So this is already a mandate, and everyone has to follow. The deadline provided by BSP was originally January 1st, 2017. But this one has been extended. The deadline is yet to be defined by BSP. So for your reference, how many credit cards or debit cards do we have in Philippines? For debit cards, we have about 40 to 45 million. Potential debit card holders, about 85%. For credit card, we have 8 million, 60% potential card holders. So this is what we have. Those 40 to 45 million cards, they need to be converted to EMV. Okay, when you have the cards, whether it's credit card, prepaid cards, debit card, and so forth, you need a device so that the merchants, the retailers can process them. In our world, we call this EDC POS terminals. So in terms of Philippines, having about 100 million, 115 population, we only have about 180,000 units up to 200,000 units. Compared to Malaysia and Thailand, that's for every 1,000 people. Okay? Compared to Malaysia having 10 for every 1,000 people, Thailand 5, I think Philippines should be having about 1 million terminals by now. But we are delayed, we are late. Okay? Later, we will know how we will address this. So in terms of the terminal projection or forecast, based on the terminal installations for the past years, I think Philippines will be doing about 20,000 terminals per year from 2017 to 2021 if the banks will not do anything about the acquiring business. Okay, when we deploy terminals, we call them the acquirers, okay? For those who are issuing cards, which are also the banks, We call them the issuers of the cards. So I'll bring you now to the implementation that we had. So some use cases that we have in GHL. We are the system provider of the Happy Plus card. You don't know us, you don't see us, but we are the one providing the system for Jollibee Food Corporation. And it covers Jollibee, Red Ribbon, Chowking, Greenwich, and Mang Inasal. Right now, there is already about 7 million cards issued. I think in terms of the non-MasterCard, non-Visa card, I think this is the most successful e-wallet so far, but still closed loop. When I say closed loop, meaning the card can only be used between those brands. Okay? So the Happy Plus can be accepted nationwide. There is about 6,000 devices where the Happy Plus card can be used or accepted. Use case number 2, Starbucks. They're using our system, operational since 2013. We supply them the prepaid backend system, the terminals, the network. We also do the application development for them. And of course, we do the hardware and software maintenance. So this is the prepaid system and loyalty that we supplied to Starbucks. The other one, Jollibee, is also prepaid with loyalty, but RFID, meaning contactless solution. This one is magstripe. So right now, Starbucks is about 3 million issued cards. We are also a system provider of online payment gateway or e-commerce. The two largest clients that we have in Malaysia are AirAsia and Firefly. So if there's anyone here needing, for example, e-commerce platform, please approach us. In terms of loyalty, the largest loyalty program in pharma, we are providing them the technology in terms of the devices. This one, we have them since about 2012. And for the other loyalty implementations, we have them. I think GHL is becoming a preferred provider now when it comes to loyalty and prepaid systems, but not MasterCard and Visa. These are proprietary prepaid cards. So we have them, the JFC, Starbucks, Wrangler, Fisher Moore, Rustans, and so forth. The latest one that we closed is actually the Maxis Group. We're doing pilot with them. So who we are? GHL Philippines was incorporated in Philippines way back in 2006. So we have just celebrated our 10th anniversary in Philippines. Our mother company is based in Malaysia. We are a publicly listed company there. The company was established way back in the 1990s. We are a publicly listed company in Malaysian Stock Exchange. We are operating in, of course, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Australia. We just opened offices, headcount in Myanmar and Singapore. For the total headcount, we have about 700, about 250 headcount. They are based in Philippines. And for the footprint in terms of these acceptance devices to accept MasterCard and Visa, in the region, we have about 150,000. And about 65 to 70,000 terminals are all here in Philippines. So these are the pillars where the revenue of GHL is coming from. This is also one way of telling you that these are the products and services that we are carrying, not only in Philippines, but in the entire region. So there you can see the end-to-end payment infrastructure. We provide cards. We also provide services for the cards, consultancy for the EMV. For the devices, I think regardless of the terminal type that the bank is requiring from us, we have them. So we have POS terminals, we have contact readers, we have routers, and so forth. And when you are in our field, in our market, when you are deploying POS terminals, you need to have also the network devices. And we have them also in GHL. Right? I have been in the industry of payment for about 25 years now. And most of these POS manufacturers that I've seen them, I have seen all of their technologies. And I'm seeing right now that this device will take the market. It is also a POS terminals, but using Android operating system. The reason being, all the features, functionalities that we need are already there. You can do electronic signature because touchscreen. There is a camera, GPS, can do barcode. Later you will see why the barcode, the QR, is very important nowadays. And of course, those other considerations, high memory, supporting future telco communication network. What do you mean by that? Majority of the wireless terminals in the Philippines are using 2G network. In other countries, 2G is now being phased out. Most of the banks or clients that we are approaching right now, they're now looking for 3G devices. Actually, if you will use Android, most of the COM ports now, or communication technology, is not even 3G. They're using LTE or 4G. So what I'm saying here, if we are using Android, it means that the future telco networks are no longer a problem. The other features, Java language, this one is very important to us, so that the hiring of the talent people when it comes to software development will be a lot easier. Because most of these top 3 devices in the Philippines, you have Ingenico, Verifone. In the past, you have Hypercom. These are all proprietary operating systems. I'm glad now that there is an Android that we can use for POS terminals. However, banks are still not using them because this terminal is very new in the market. But I'm seeing in the next few years, terminals will be replaced by Android devices. So we need to be there. And of course, the using of DB. When you're using DB in our world, it's a lot faster, especially when searching data or searching information on the device. To support Android, I have seen this when I was reading about Android, April 5, 2017. It's already, it unseat the Windows operating system. Maybe because of the web users using phones, tablets, and so forth. But the use of Android operating system is really growing. So this is one of the use cases that we are already thinking to implement. Although we have implemented similar setup wherein a single device will have multiple applications. We have already implemented this. But why do we need Android? Because Android has those features that I have mentioned to you a while ago. The devices right now are running out of memory or processing speed when implementing multiple banks on a single POS. GHL is the only, I could say in Asia, who was able to implement multiple applications, EMV applications on a single POS. No one has done it, but we were able to do it. But we would like to do further. And to be able to do that, we need a very powerful device. Let me show you the business model behind this. Why this one is very important to us. 100% of the banks, when they deploy their terminal, transaction will only go to them. For example, Bank A, I deploy my terminal in supermarket. All transactions that will be swiped or inserted there will only be routed to Bank A or Bank 1. Here, no more. There I have a sample of 3 banks. So what I do, if I have holding a Bank 1 card, I route the transaction to Bank 1. If I'm holding a card from Bank 2, I will route the transaction to Bank 2 and so forth. So what is the business model behind this? GHL as a provider, if in the past we are deploying one terminal for each of the bank, I collect one fee for each of the terminal for each bank. Here, no more. I deploy one terminal and I collect fee for each of the bank that I will enable. So in terms of the business model, this one is very, very important to us. Okay, how are we affected by the driving trends now? From your left side, these are the issuers. So you have their Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and so forth. To your left, you have WeChat Pay and Alipay, and so forth. Right now, Philippines is being dominated by 2 scheme cards, MasterCard and Visa. In our estimate, maybe 90% of the transactions are from Visa and MasterCard. The rest, 10% coming from the other issuers. So you have their Amex, JCB, CUP, and or debit cards, and all the other issuers. And to your right, these are the payment form factors aside from the traditional POS terminal. One very important there is the QR code. Alipay and WeChat are dominating the China financial market using QR code. It's not yet here, but I think it will come. We just signed an agreement with Alipay to acquire transactions, like what we're doing for MasterCard and Visa, and like what we're doing to help the banks to acquire card transactions. This one is using the QR code. And 100% of the terminals in the Philippines do not have the camera, and therefore, you cannot do the QR. So GHL as a technology provider, we would like to be 10 steps ahead of our competitors. So we will be soon deploying our own devices with cameras, because we are preparing ourselves for other channels, payment methods that will come. In terms of magstripe, EMV, contactless, we have no problem. But the growth of payment coming from these payments, MasterCard, Visa, may be increasing only about 5% per year. So where other growth do we see? These are from the other payment channels. For local, for Philippines, we are seeing the growth of a beep card. Why? Because most of the prepaid e-wallets that became successful in their respective country, they all started from transit. You have seen a lot of banks implemented e-wallet, but they started from retail. I'm not saying that this is wrong, but based on our experience, based on our knowledge, company who implemented e-wallet started from transit became successful. This is the other revenue, business revenue, that we would like to grow in the next few years. I'm very glad to hear the presentation of Magellan. In one of the slides there, I saw 6 blue blocks. One of them is the 7 million MSMEs. In this slide, here we are targeting the SMEs as well. Okay? You have a triangle there, or a pyramid. The light blue are the segment. By the way, this slide came from Malaysia, but in terms of the pyramid, this one will never change for any other country, especially for developing countries. It is exactly the same. Explain to you. So the light blue colors there are the merchants, businesses that are being penetrated or approached by the banks. You have the top 3 banks here. For example, BDO, Metro Bank, BPR, or Global Payments, doing the acquiring side, acquiring the merchants, small merchants, so that they can deploy their own POS terminal, so that these merchants can accept card payments. The blue is our interest. It's about 95% of the market. Similarly, for those banks, financial institutions that are issuing prepaid cards, because not all of us can have a credit card or even ATM card. So their solution here is to issue prepaid card. That's from the issuing point of view. But from the acquiring point of view, there are also a lot of merchants that do not have yet the payment acceptance. For one major reason that most of the banks, not only in the Philippines, the objective of the banks are to immediately have revenue. These are little merchants that I think not their target segment for now. I do not know in the coming years. So in our world, we need to fast track, deploy more terminals as much as we can for these little merchants. So how can we do it? How do we do it? We already started in Malaysia and Thailand. In Malaysia, there are CIMB and Global Payments who help us doing this kind of business. We call it a third-party acquisition of merchants, TPA. In the world of MasterCard and Visa, they call it payment facilitator or merchant aggregator, respectively. Okay? So here what we do, we acquire merchants, these little merchants. So in Philippines, we signed with those acquirers. Also with RCBC, Smart, Metrobank, InfoServe for debit. Soon we will have other banks for debit acquiring. And Alipay, we just signed an agreement with Alipay so that we can help each other to grow the Alipay business here in Philippines. And BIP, just recently we also signed an agreement with them to do acquiring so that these BIP cards can also be accepted to our merchants. We started this business last year, and we have about now 2,000 merchants, plus the other merchants that we built in the past. So a total of 5,000 merchants now under this business. So this is what we intend to grow in the next few years. This is where we are heading. So these are the type of merchants that we would like to enable with our payment solution. You can see a taxi driver, hopefully one day they will have the acceptance of payments. Sari-sari store over there, a flower shop, even a barber shop, a car wash, even a home-based small businesses. We would like to help them. We would like them to equip with our payment devices. But how to achieve this? We have changed our DNA since last year. We are no longer a hardware reseller way back 5 years ago. We would like to provide services. For this type of business, it's not easy. Because under the TPA arrangement with the bank and the merchant, GHL now is in between. Because in the past, when the banks put their terminal at the merchant site, the relationship is only between the merchant and the bank. At the end of the day, the bank pays the merchants. Under the TPA arrangement, no more. We have to build our own underwriting process. It means that we are now liable to the bank in terms of fraud transactions, chargebacks, and so forth. Because we are now liable to the bank, the relationship of the merchants is no longer directly with the bank. It's now with GHL. So it's the merchant, GHL, and the bank. However, we take care of the underwriting process. In the past, we don't do this. We don't care how many transactions, what is the amount of money passing from the merchant to the bank. Now we care. Because we now handle the chargeback. We now handling the underwriting process. So we built a transaction trap. It's like a mouse trap. I'll give you an example. For example, a barber shop. This is a little small merchant. If the barber shop opens between, for example, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. midnight, and we are seeing, for example, transaction after 10 p.m., maybe around 11, 12 midnight, our risk engine will automatically trap that transaction before paying the barbershop. Because we are seeing that this transaction might be fraudulent. So this risk engine we built for 2 years in GHL. Otherwise, we will not be able to tap all of these small merchants. So these are the tapping the small merchants. We need to change also our technology devices. The traditional POS terminal will no longer be applicable. So we need to use MPOS, like the square type. So those are for the little merchants. Over the years in GHL, about 10 years now, these are the other corporate accounts that we were able to partner with, from financials, from retail, and so forth. So please let us know if you have any requirement regarding payments. We're very willing to discuss with you. Thank you very much.